So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the week 11 session for the course Air Pollution and Control. I am Abhishek Raj, a PMRF scholar in IIT Madras. So we'll start with the overview for this week. So this week was mostly about the international treaties that have been signed with respect to air pollution and how to reduce it. What are the different pollutants? What are their effects and so on. Then practice assignment we'll see, and then we can take the talks. So starting with the overview, so lecture one was about the international treaties. So there have been different treaties that have been signed over the years for different like objectives. What were the major treaties and conclusions? So that was discussed in lecture one. Lecture two was about so as this course has been doing done like after COVID, so a lockdown effect on air quality. This topic was added in this. So as you may be knowing, like during the lockdown, air quality had improved significantly because there was industries were not running, the vehicles were not operating. So what were the learnings and conclusions from that? Lecture three, so mitigation measures for major sectors. So the sectors that cause major pollution. So in India, it is like the major sector is power sector. So because we still use coal for producing power because we are developing nation, we cannot afford to use like expensive sources like renewable energy and all. So most developing countries will use coal. So that is one of the major emitters for air pollution. And then we have other sectors like transport and so on. So urban transport industry. Lecture four. So change in policies and programs. So as the air pollution and the levels change, we have to keep changing our policies to adapt to them. What are the innovative solutions that have been proposed? Lecture five, like what are the sampling methods and equipments being used? And finally quality control. So this was week 11, and this is the second last week. After this will be the last week for the course, that is week 2. We'll see the practice assignment. We'll have around 18 questions, so we'll see them one by one. It should not take long today, maybe 1.5 hour we should be done because mostly it is theoretical questions only. So starting with question 1, the Stockholm Convention, which was signed in 2001, was a global treaty to protect human health and the environment from POPs. POP is referred to prolonged organic pollutants, passive organic pollutants, polycyclic organic pollutants, and persistent organic pollutants. So I think everyone is saying option D. That is the right answer. So persistent organic pollutants is referred to as POPs. Mainly the Stockholm Convention was one of the main objectives was to reduce the emission of POPs. And one of the key features of these pollutants are like they will be very, they will not get easily destroyed in the environment and they will persist for a long time. So they can cause more harm compared to other pollutants, which like, react with water or other compounds and they will form something harmless. Unlike these pollutants, so they will exist in the atmosphere for long periods of time. So that's why this treaty was signed to protect the health and environment from this POPs. So that is the short form. It is persistent organic pollutants. Just moving to question number two now. Which international treaty was developed by the UN Economic Commission for Europe in 1979 to address the issue of acid rain? Convention on Long Range Transboundary Air Pollution, Vienna Convention, Helsinki Protocol, and Montreal Protocol. Sponsors. So everyone is saying option A. Yeah. So that is the correct one. Convention on Long Range Transboundary Air Pollution. This was one of the first treaties which was like a broad, it covered broad range, like broad geographical area. It was not fixed to any continent. So this was signed for acid rain. So the years are not that important. I mean, you should know them, but they are not that important. It's more important to remember uh, where the treaty was signed, like because most of these treaties and protocols will be in the name of the place they were signed at. Like Vienna Convention, it was signed in Vienna, that is in Austria. Helsinki Protocol was signed in Helsinki, which is in, I think, Finland. So this was signed particularly for SO2 emissions to bring them down. Montreal Protocol, very famous, like for ozone. And I think Vienna Convention is also for ozone. Like this was signed before Montreal Protocol. So these are the some of the options. We discussed what each of them means. So the right answer is option A, which is Convention on Long Range Transboundary Air Pollution. So this was signed for acid rain. Moving to question number three now. According to a study related to the effects of lockdown on air quality in India, which pollutants concentration increased during the lockdown period of 2020? PM 2.5, ozone, NO2, and CO. Responses. So if you are saying option B, yeah, it's fine. So the correct answer is option B, ozone. The primary reason for this was because if you take vehicle emissions, So vehicles will emit NO2, and NO2 can affect photochemical reactions, so which are basically responsible for formation of ozone. So since there were not many vehicles being driven during COVID time, so NO2 emissions reduced, and this kind of increased the photochemical reactions which lead to the formation of ozone. That's why the concentration of ozone had increased during the lockdown. In contrast to other pollutants, whose concentration dropped. So yeah, so the correct answer for question 3 is option B, that is ozone. Moving to question number 4 now. During the lockdown period, which of the following measures resulted in significant improvement in air quality? Restricted vehicle movement, closure of industries, reduced burning activities, all of the above. People are saying option D. Yeah, that is okay. So the correct answer is option D here, all of the above. It's like somewhat obvious. Because during the lockdown, like you were not allowed to go outside, so there were not many vehicle road movements. Also, industries were closed. Like, almost all the workers had gone to their homes. Like burning activities also came down because waste generated reduced kind of. All these measures together happened and it led to improvement in the air quality during the lockdown period. So that is question number 4. So all these measures led to improvement in the air quality. Moving to the next one, question number 5 now. Which guideline enforces the private sector to spend their average profit in the last 3 years on the social development related activities such as education, healthcare, poverty alleviation, and environmental sustainability? Commercial social reliability, commercial social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, and corporate social reliability. Yeah, yeah, that is the right answer. Option C. So every company, like especially the big ones which are listed in the stock market, so and also other companies which are not listed, so there is like a guideline which says to them that the profit they are earning, they should spend a portion of it on social activities. So like education will be there. Like they won't try to build schools as such, but like they can provide equipment, if computers are needed or if books are needed. Many times they will provide school buses, like these kind of things. Like so they will try to help the schools and other educational institutions in the area. And it should be government or non-profit. Like they cannot do that for a private school as such. Healthcare also they will do. Like sometimes they will build small hospitals, nursing homes. Also, like many times, from what I've seen, like they will provide ambulances, like especially the automobile companies, they'll provide ambulance to the nearby hospitals. Poverty alleviation. So basically, they will train the village youth, so that they can get jobs easily, train them in skills. So these skill training programs they will run. They will also do other things. Environmental sustainability. They will do plantations. Uh, for some company, I heard like they had installed solar lamps in that nearby villages, so that like people need not depend on electricity, because electricity kind of goes a lot in the village areas. So they installed solar lamps for safety during the night. So many things they can do. So one, there will be guidelines for doing these things. So, yeah. So that is corporate social responsibility. Option C, that is the right answer. Moving to question number 6. Introduction of the control technology such as wet flue gas desulfurization, so that is FGD units. FGD units should be made mandatory in all the plants to control emissions of what? NO2, SO2, PM2.5, CO. Answers? Yeah, B is correct. So SO2, for SO2, FGDs are used. So basically, it will be like a vertical unit in which water will be sprayed on the fluid gas, and that will basically get desulfurized. So basically, SO2 will react with the water, will form like sulfuric acid molecules, and from the bottom they'll remove this liquid portion. So that's why how they can do it. So instead of sending it out into the atmosphere, they will send it to these FGD units. They'll convert it to liquid and they can take it out and process it otherwise. So the right answer is SO2 for question number 6. Moving to 7 now. Use of non-motorized transport (NMT) modes like rickshaws, walking, cycling for traveling leads to low carbon footprint. True and false. Okay. Saying option A. Yeah, that is correct. So non-motorized modes, they will have low carbon footprint because we are not using any fuel as such. So an interesting study I came across recently. So it was done by, I think, University of Leeds in UK. So what they found was that uh, a lot of people use cars in that study was only done for UK. So the results may or may not hold in other countries, but they found that a lot of people, around 45% or something, the numbers may be off. Like I just remember the basic premise of the study. So and 40-45% people use cars in the UK. But the emissions that these cars cause, like if we convert all of these people, 45% to like walking, cycling, non-motorized modes, so the reduction in emissions will only be 9%. Like it will be very less. But like a very small portion of people, I can't remember this one, but it said that can be up to 30 to 40%. So this will be basically for long distance travel. So people who are basically flying out, we can say, like flying out or driving by the car to like say 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, taking the basically the aeroplanes like flight to go to another place. So long distance travel accounts for most of the emissions, and that will be done by very less number of people. So it is a better strategy to convince these people who are doing long distance travel to use other sustainable modes such as rail. Rail is somewhat more sustainable compared to using flights because the carbon footprint reduces. This is one of the reasons nowadays there are these emission calculators for long distance travel. Like people are, because people are getting aware, they can put the origin and destination, and that will calculate how much carbon CO2 in kgs will be generated by your trip. So many environment conscious people actually nowadays plan these trips based on these calculators. Just something to like know. This I came across, so I shared it with you. So yeah, uh, I think the answer is incorrect here, so it should be true. The option is right, but uh, keyword is true. It is not. It should not be false. Coming to question number 8 now. Biochar is a finely divided carbon-rich porous substance that can be obtained from the crop stubble through the process of composting, pyrolysis, mechanical processing, and happy seeder. So option B, yeah, that is right. So pyrolysis is correct. So this is a strategy to reduce the air pollution from the agriculture sector. So pyrolysis is basically a technique like they'll use like high heat around 400 to 700 degrees Celsius. Oxygen will not be present. In the absence of oxygen, we'll heat up the carbon-rich substances and they'll transform to biochar. So it is basically used for crop stubble. So instead of burning it, we'll heat up the crop stubble in absence of oxygen and at very high heat, so that will get converted to biochar. So a better option than directly burning the stubble. So right answer is pyrolysis for question number 8. Moving to question 9 now. What is the average flow rate maintained at the inlet of the respirable dust sampler, which is a high volume sampler? Zero point 0.8 cubic meters per minute, 1.1 cubic meters per minute, 1.4, 1.7. Answers. Option B. Yeah, that is correct. So these high volume samplers, they are mainly used for sampling PM10 particulate matter. So there will be a long apparatus. So not enough time to explain it, but you can check it out. So there will be an inlet where like we'll intake the dust there. That the dust in the sense particulate matter that will go into the system. It will be like high volume. So they will try to maintain like a zero point 0.9 to some 1.2, but average rate will be around 1.1 meters cube per minute. So that will be the average rate they'll try to maintain for that sampling. Because we don't want too much intake in the system because the system can only handle, sampler can only handle up to certain capacity. So we don't want it to be very high. Also, we don't want it to be very low, like because then what is the point? Like we need to do it at an optimal speed. So around 1.2, they'll try to maintain. So option B is the right one, 1.1 meters cube per minute. That is the inlet rate for the dust sampling. Coming to question number 10 now. In 1991, which of the following protocols was related to the control of emissions of VOCs or their transboundary fluxes? Geneva Protocol, Gothenburg Protocol, Stockholm Convention, and Helsinki Protocol. Sponsors. Option A is correct. So option A is the right answer. Geneva Protocol. The best way to learn these is like just make a table, all the protocols, conventions on one side, and like what we maybe which year they came, and in the column can be like what was the target compound and like two, three strategies how they wanted to achieve it. So that is the best way to go through this. This was signed in 1991. So Geneva Protocol was mainly for VOCs. Gothenburg was, I think, for eutrophication, and yes, this ground level ozone was there in this. Stockholm Convention, I can't recall right now. What was it for? So yeah, Helsinki was for SO2 that we discussed. Stockholm was, can't recall right. What was it for? I think it was for the first question we discussed, right? POPs is for that one. So VOCs, volatile organic compounds for Geneva Protocol, eutrophication ground level ozone in Gothenburg, persistent organic pollutants in Stockholm, and Helsinki was for SO2 levels. So this is question number 10. Right answer is Geneva Protocol. Moving to the next one, question number 11 now. So select the first international treaty which was signed to deal with the air pollution problem on a broad regional basis. Vienna Convention, Long Range Transboundary Air Pollution Convention, Sofia Protocol, and Earth Summit. Any responses? So people are saying option B. Yeah, that is right. So Vienna Convention we saw that was for ozone. Sofia Protocol was for nitrous oxides, and Helsinki was for SO2. Earth Summit was like a broad set of objectives. So mainly like not focused towards particular pollutant, but more like environmental conservation. Everything was discussed here. And Convention of Long Range Transboundary Air Pollution. This was for acid rain. And first treaty for like on a broad regional basis, not restricted to a geographical area. So option B, that is Convention on Long Range Transboundary Air Pollution. This is the right answer for question number 11. Moving to the next one, question number 12 now. Which treaty was signed in 1987 to protect the ozone layer? Montreal Protocol, Kyoto Protocol, Earth Summit, Vienna Convention. Yes, I think people are saying option A. Yeah, that is fine. So yeah, Montreal Protocol was the treaty. It was mainly signed for ozone. Although Vienna Convention was also linked to it, but first a specific treaty if we have to choose, that will be the Montreal Protocol. So Kyoto was basically for greenhouse gases, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Earth Summit, I told you, a broad set of objectives, not just restricted to one. And this was for ozone only, but if it was signed before Montreal Protocol. So that is question number 12. Right answer is Montreal Protocol. Moving to question 13 now. In 2019, the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Government of India, launched as a time-bound national strategy to tackle increasing air pollution in India. Graded Response Action Plan, Comprehensive Action Plan, National Clean Air Program, and National Air Quality Monitoring Program. Responses. So I think everyone is saying option C. Yeah, that is right. So yeah, correct answer is National Clean Air Program. It's launched in 2019. What were the basic features about this? So first thing was launched in 2019, and the base year was taken as 2017. What were the objectives? So objective was to reduce PM concentrations by 20 to 30%. Target year 2024. And like how will we achieve it? So some of the strategies that were going to be adopted was, so first one was, so that time we were using BS4. So directly we switched to BS6 instead of BS5. So we leap from 4 to 6. Like biomass burning, you can't do. So that was like restricted. regular monitoring of AQI, air quality index, ethanol blending, it is mixing, that is also called as flex fuel technology. Some of the strategies that were adopted for National Clean Air Program. So that is question number 13. So right answer is NCAP. Moving to question number 14 now. To control the dust pollution at the construction site, which one of the following mitigation measures would be most effective? Fogging system, ban on refuse burning, vehicle usage controls, bike parking facilities. So people are saying option A, right? Yeah. So correct answer is option A, that is fogging system. So the burning refuse has like this has no concern with construction sites. The refuse is basically waste material that is incinerated, so that creates air pollution. These are also not in relevance to construction sites. So construction site there will be a lot of dust. So in order to trap it and like it does not travel lot of distance, like goes to another place geographically through the wind and air. So fogging systems are used. So that kind of traps the dust because it makes it heavy. It like you can say attaches to the water molecules in the fog and it kind of stays there. And finally it settles down. So fogging system is used to mitigate dust pollution at construction sites. So the right answer is option A, fogging system. Moving to question 15 now. So you have to select the incorrect statement here. So dust is formed from natural disintegration of rocks and mechanical processes. Smoke, combustion and chemical processes, fumes, chemical or metallurgical processes, and mist is from condensation or industrial operations. So you have to choose the incorrect statement out of these. So people are saying option A. Any other response? Okay, no issues. We'll see the answer. Yeah, D is correct. So, like, the second part is not of much concern. You have to focus on the sizes. So, dust, that will be like large size. Like, there will be a lot of variation in the size of dust. So, it can go from 1 to up to 200 micrometers. Sometimes even larger it will go. Smoke, if you take, it will be 0.01 to 1 micrometers. Fumes, it will be zero point 0.1 to 1 micrometer. If you take chemical fumes, like fumes is general, but if you go more specific, chemical fumes will also be in the same range, zero point 0.1 to 1. If you take mist, or you can take fog also along with it, so both of them will be less than 10 micrometers. If you take aerosol, it will be less than 1 micrometers. So instead of greater than, it will be less than 10 micrometers. So that is option B here. So right answer is option D, mist. So it is will be not greater, it will be actually less than 10 micrometers. Moving to question number 16 now. What is the annual national ambient air quality standard for PM10 for residential areas? 40 micrograms per meter cube, 60, 80, and 100. People are saying option B, 60. Yeah, that is fine. So your correct answer is option B, 16 micrograms per meter cube. So if you take PM10, so there will be two criteria. So one will be for annual, like the average across all, and one will be for daily average, 24 hours. So annual, it can go up to 60 average. On a daily scale, it can go up to 100 also. But if you take the average, it should be not more than 60. So that is the standard for national ambient air quality for PM10. It will be the same for other ecologically sensitive areas also. So this is for residential. This will be for ecologically sensitive areas. It will be the same in both. So the right answer is option B, 60 micrograms per meter cube. Moving to the next one. Blending of methanol in gasoline can bring down greenhouse gas emissions by 20% in terms of particulate matter, nitrous oxides, and sulfur oxides, thereby improving the urban air. So, what is the percentage mix that should be done for methanol? So, 10%, 15%, 20%, and 25%. Yes, I think people are saying option B. Yeah, that is right. So 15% is correct. So this is basically called as flex fuel technology. So if we have to pick one country which has done it like really well, so that is Brazil. They have a sugarcane industry, so they mix a lot of ethanol. Like they are the pioneers in this mixing, and that is where the idea for flex fuel has come from. And the issue with electric vehicles is because if you take, let's say, battery electric vehicle, like which is common in the Indian scenario, like you have example of like Tata Nexon and all that. So mostly Tata is only making right now. So let's say it takes so the amount of rare earth metals like lithium, cobalt, all these are used a lot in electric vehicle. So the amount of electric vehicle that is needed for a battery electric vehicle will be one. For plug-in hybrids, it will be six. It will be for if you take just hybrids, it will be 90. So basically, let's say we have X, maybe X weight of rare earth metals. So in that we can make one battery electric car, six plug-in hybrids, and 90 hybrid cars. So that is the problem with EVs because they take a lot of rare earth metals right now to make it takes to one make one EV. And it is said that if we continue on this trajectory of pushing electric vehicles, we will need more and more mines for rare earth metals. And actually, it is in the name itself, rare, because they are not present in that much concentration. So what will we do after it gets over? Like that is one of the what we can chicken and egg problem. So what will we how will we handle this? Because we can't keep running on petrol and at the same time we have to shift to other sources. But other sources there is also issue. So we have to see how to incorporate it. So that's why countries like if we take Japan, they are not uh, that aggressive towards electric vehicle. They are more focusing on hybrid vehicles like petrol as well as EV. So it will run on both. Like I don't know the exact mechanism how they operate, but they use both the fuel as well as the electric source of power. So that's why Japan is focusing right now, and they're trying to study the market. But other countries like Europe, US, India also, we are shifting more towards BEVs directly. We are not focused on hybrids. We have to see that. So this option B correct, 15%. Moving to the last question for today's session, question number 80. So on a global scale, stubble burning constitutes about what fraction of the total biomass burning, inclusive of forest fires? So half, one third, one fourth, and one fifth. Option C. Everyone is saying option C. Yeah, that is right. So option B is the correct. Sorry, I marked it incorrect. So option C is the right one. Option C, 1 by 4 is the correct answer. So if we take all the biomass burning that happens, so around 20 to 25%. It varies, like mostly it will be around 20 to 23%. Sometimes it goes to 27, 28% also. But on an average, if we take, it will be around 25% of the total biomass. So stable burning. So that is the right answer, 1 by 4. So with this, we come to the end for today's session. Somewhat quickly, like 1 hour we finished. It's fine because mostly it was theory only, not much to discuss. Let me know if you have any doubts. So I think week 12 assignment is also live. So should attempt that, finish up all your assignments, whatever are pending, and you should think start preparing for the exam if you have registered. Yeah, they will update on the portal whenever it is ready. At least 10 to 15 days before they will share. Sure. Anyone else has any doubts? Yeah, thank you. So if there are no more responses and the doubt is there, I will be here for another maybe 1, 2 minutes. Then we'll close the session.